Next speaker is Dr. Satyajit Sinha, who is Managing Director and Chairperson of ABI Hospital, Patna, who is also a member ARC East Zone, and is a wonderful surgeon, and he's going to present his case of uveitic cataract. Dr.
Actually,
Satyajit?
Dr. Gopal had two good videos,
Yeah,
Harshul,
I'll
in
be
case you
sharing
could
those,
play.
ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Afterwards, ma'am, yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Satyajit?
Yes. You should unmute yourself, Dr. Satyajit.
Yeah. I'd like to thank the Academic and Research Committee, Dr. Chitra Ramamurthy, Chairman, for giving me this opportunity. I'll be talking on post-uveitic cataract tips and tricks. We had a patient, 38-year-old female with history of treatment for CS cervix. Old reports revealed the being positive for COX in 2017. On 16 September, she came to us with August. She came to us with vision in right eye, counting finger, and left eye also counting finger. We diagnosed her with dense PSC both eyes. She had a festooned pupil and she had a uveitic macular edema in the right eye, which was revealed on seeing the OCT. Her applanation tonometry was 12/12 in both eyes. This is the picture of the macular edema which was there. In primary management, we had given her injection Tricot intravitreally in the right eye, and then phacoemulsification was planned after 15 days. OCT showed reduction in macular edema on 1st of October, and then systemic steroids were also started preoperatively to lessen any inflammatory reaction postoperatively. She underwent phaco on 2nd of October, and this is the surgery. So this was the festooned pupil which was there initially. We made a paracentesis and then we released the synechia which was there. We gave a pupil dilator also, but the pupil didn't dilate much. So then we went ahead and used iris hooks. A pupil expander can also be used like BHEX, which may probably give a less post-operative inflammatory reaction. But in this case, we were using these iris hooks. The visibility in these kind of cataracts, especially in the anterior capsule, the visibility is a little compromised, but slowly the rhexis was completed. It may be a good idea to use blue also. In between, the iris may be floppy in such cases, and there may be iris prolapse also. So it may be a good idea to keep hydrating the cornea so that the iris prolapse is as less as possible. It is very important that you do a good hydrodissection and then rotate the nucleus to make sure it is rotating well. And then these kind of cataracts are generally more cortical, so it comes out easily. And then you do irrigation and aspiration. Once that is there, then the red reflex becomes a little better. It is very important that all the cortical matter has to be cleaned properly to reduce the post-operative inflammation. All the cortex should be removed carefully by going behind the iris also. And then an acrylic hydrophobic IUL was inserted. In this case, through that 2.2 millimeter incision. It is very important that all the viscoelastic which is there should also be cleaned to, so that the post-operative inflammation is as less as possible. We should also go behind the IUL and remove all the viscoelastic. Then all the iris hooks are removed. The wounds are hydrated. This is the first day post-op picture. This was after 1 week. This was after 15 days. And at the end of 1 month, the eye looked like this. And from counting finger, this was the post-operative picture of the macula. And the patient came to us with counting finger vision, and 30th 10, she had 618 vision. Topical steroids were prescribed in tapering doses along with continuing systemic steroids in reducing doses. Thank you so much for your patient hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Satyajit. That was a wonderful video, the way you managed right from the pre-operative to intra-op to post-op. Actually, I was breaking my head where to question you at all in this. There's one thing which we all noticed, that he never tried stretching the pupil, and stretching the pupil, had he done it, would have caused the iris to become a little floppy, and has used the iris hooks very appropriately. The only thing, if you really want to get too critical, is that you could have suggested that he could have used one sub-incisional iris hook, which would actually, if sometimes the iris gets very taut between the two iris hooks. So when a sub-incisional hook is placed, then there is no stretch on the iris when the phaco probe goes in and out. Maybe that could be the only thing which would have said. But the wonderful tip he gave was the hydration of wound, which is something I'm going to take back and do. He kept hydrating the wound as he was doing the procedure, which that though you clearly know that it's very important to do that for iris prolapse, but somehow I never did that. So good learning video, wonderful.
Thank you so
Open
much.
to the expert audience and Harshu for any thoughts on this.
So just for my own, sorry, Harshu, you were saying something?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No, no,
I was telling something. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to know, and I'm sure others know about it. What is the time gap which you normally would keep, after a macular edema is there, and when you, think that, okay, the surgery can be done for cataract? Dr. Kashyap is here. Yeah, maybe he can tell us all.
Generally, we claim 3 months, minimum 3 months right now. That is the time when we tell stabilization of blood aqueous barrier happens. Is that so?
I could see the
yes.
take the OCT very properly. The OCT, it was very clear. It means the media was not very hazy. Probably we could repeat the OCT.
And then, yeah, that makes sense. Anything else to be added, Dr. Ramurthy, Dr. Suhas?
I have one suggestion,
Yes.
ma'am. How
Yes.
common do we, in such uveitic cataracts, how common do we add intravitreal triamcinolone or PST triamcinolone intraoperatively?
Intraoperatively.
Yes.
Basically, there are 3 options. Either you can give subtenons or intravitreal triamcinolone, or of course intravitreal Ozidrex. Ozidrex, if the patient can afford, is the best to give, simply because it's a very titrated amount of 7 micrograms per day, and it lasts almost for 100 days, and potential for raise of intraocular pressure is also quite low. Obviously, cost is a factor, and sometimes if patients can't afford it, you have to do this. And but only thing I noticed, Satyajit, beautifully managed, very well done, good tips. But when you have already given a IVTA, why put this patient on systemic steroids also, which you continued? And did you have a systemic workup of these patients before taking her up for surgery?
Absolutely. All the sugar parameters and the blood pressure and everything, and physician clearance was taken before all systemic steroids were given. And systemic steroids are given mostly to be sure that post-operative inflammation is as less as possible.
The reason I brought this up is, you also mentioned the history of Cox tuberculosis, which was 3 years back. And, sometimes we guys are just so focused on the cataract, we forget about the other reasons. And you put the patient on systemic steroids, and if it's a tuberculous uveitis, you could have a bad flare-up. So my suggestion is that, when you get cases like this, even though you might be the operating surgeon, it's a good idea. We always get a opinion of our VR colleagues or uveitis
No,
colleagues.
he would have had Dr. Pooja opinion on it. Dr. Pooja Sinha would have given her.
It's just a message for the others too. I mean, you might be capable of doing the cataract surgery part of it, but it's important that you get the patients worked up properly, so that you don't end up with problems which you didn't anticipate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Would you start the patient on atropine eye drops post-op? Or
Not on atropine, because that will dilate and fix the pupil, but definitely maybe on homide or something till the inflammation comes.
or maybe on table, if you could put a drop of atropine, depending on how much handling has been there on table.
Yes. I think there's anything else to discuss. Shall we go on to our next? Dr. Suhas? Yes, yes,
Dr. Satyajit.
Yes,
uh,
sir.
Your patient didn't improve beyond 618. Could you investigate and find out why he never went beyond 618?
We'll do that, sir.
Yes. Yes.
No, because like you had, you had intravitreal, and then after that you waited for 15 days and then you operated. The post-op, did your systemic steroids or local steroids continue for little longer than normal? In what way was your post-op different from a routine case?
We were giving systemic steroids, sir. We don't give systemic steroids to everybody. Otherwise, the post-operative regime which we use for all the patients was the same. Like in reducing doses, we were giving topical steroids, prednisolone eye drops.
Till how long?
Well, even
Would you keep it good?
kids, I think something like a Nepafenac or Nevernac would be a better idea, so that the macular edema.
That is a standard we use. Nepafenac for all the patients post-cataract surgery.
Oh, I think it's a very important point. Most patients don't tolerate systemic steroids over a long period of time. It's not necessary also. Most often with a PST or a Ozidrex that takes care of postoperative inflammation, you just continue steroid drops for about 3 months. I mean, start off with 8 times a day and then very slowly taper it down and maybe use them for a couple of times. And of course, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drops, as was mentioned, is also important, along with lubricants. So I think most often, unless you find a recalcitrant problem, in which case a UVI expert has to handle it, I think it's for us, topical drops would be good enough, especially when you've already given a PST also.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Suhas, you have anything to add?
No.
I have.
Yes, Dr. Raj.
I want suggestions from both Ramurthy sir and Suhas sir. What is the preferred size of capsular excess in such cases? Detail, because larger the excess, more often there will be optic captures. Smaller the excess, most often goes for phimosis.
Yes.
So what do you
probably a standard 5.5 should be enough.
More, I think, on the larger side than on the smaller side.
The small side.
You don't
this is one situation where I might recommend polishing of the edge of the anterior capsule more, because it reduces the chance of anterior phimosis. But very often your size of the excess is limited by the pupillary dilatation. Of course, you use dilating devices like what Satyajit showed, then that's not a constraint. But a 5.5 millimeters so that you get a good overlap, but as big a excess as possible would be a good idea.
For the learner's sake, it is hydrophobic acrylic, which is the best in such cases.
Yes. Right.
These are cases where polishing would be done always.
Yes. Yes. So thank you.